Have worked. So I found these at the scrapyard. I didn't even know what a reamer was at the time, but I've Googled it and I think I have a good understanding that they're used for making holes bigger, and that's actually a part that I need. But since these were at the scrapyard, it seems the reason was because they're actually kind of dull. And they're actually a bit nicked up too. They've just been pretty rough condition. But for like $4 for all of them, I can't complain. Now these ones had paint on them, silver paint, and that gives me an idea. It would be neat to clean them off and put red paint on there, because I've really been liking my red enamel paint instead of this old silver. I think, since it's pretty dull, and I'll have to be sharpening them anyway, we can go ahead and use the wire wheel. Normally I wouldn't do this like on a drill bit or something, because it's still nice and sharp. But when it's all messed up, who cares? You could sharpen just the outside, but I think sharpening the inside of the edge might be good to help take off some of the issues. But there's so much gunk and oil on there that this just clogs up instantly. It might have just been munched by the excavator or something, but that one might not be straight. If any of these ones are irreparably damaged, you know, what I figured was if I couldn't use them, then I can always use them for blacksmithing, because this is most likely very nice tool steel. And so if I ever need to make like a chisel or something, this would be perfect for that. So at the very least, they'll always find a use. You know, ever since the idea came to me, I've been having a very hard time not wishing for there to be a handle on the top of my my log grinder. Because it's on a log, it's not on a bench, it's on a log. I might do that sometime. Oh, yes. Looks like just oil. You know, maybe they color coded it like, oh, that's silver paint on it, that's my tools at the factory or something. Because I imagine people would color code their tools so people wouldn't walk off with them. You can see some of that paint. I think I'm going to remove all that though, because I just don't want that silver paint on there. Still feels pretty sharp like before, so I don't think I'm actually dulling it that much by doing this, because, well, I mean, it's probably supposed to feel a lot sharper than this. I'm probably not supposed to be able to touch it like that, but oh well. So they're already in pretty worn out shape. Well, there's the gashes in them too. But I think those are definitely worth keeping. It appears that I have 3 different manufacturers. I have they're so worn. I have Standard Tool Company. Now these ones have a pointed tip. Then we have these ones with a flat tip. That one's all marred up. National, I believe. National Tool Co. Yep. And then this one, the only part that I can really make out is 80 IN, so made in USA. Now, it doesn't follow the layout of that. And it doesn't follow the layout of those. So obviously that's a different one. I initially thought that this would be one of these manufacturers, just a different style, but it's obviously something different. And the rust on this was far deeper than any of these, so this might be far older. I would like to know what you guys think about the age of this one. These big ones are really munched up, so I might just go ahead and trim those down to 1/2 inch, because then I can use them in the drill press and just run them very slowly. But I'm thinking, for now, since that big wheel thing seems to latch onto these pretty well, I'll just keep them like they are. I might grind this one up a little bit just to smooth it out though. You're kind of working a little bit. Oh, you know, this probably would work too. Never mind. Oh, that like polishes it. Definitely sharper, but I'm not sure of how straight it is. But it's giving me an idea. I should make a 5-tong thing that will always keep it level. I think that'd be a good idea. I'm actually getting the hang of it by hand. Here I was thinking about stopping the video and calling it quits until I can make like a jig to hold it, but so that one might not be so easy. This is the second one I tried. It's definitely got a lot of passes at it. But one of the other ones I only had to do 1 pass per thing, which is pretty good. So what I've realized is this is effectively straight. Until this point it's coned, it's tapered. And so I can do those as 2 different pieces. And honestly, I'm not even going to worry about the part where it's straight because it's not going to be cutting much. But the part where it's actually tapered, I'm gonna do that. And that's only like 1/3 of a turn. So that's not too bad. This one well, it's a bit of an odd one. In fact, some of the, oh no, taper ends there. Taper ends there. And this one, the taper ends there. Okay, so this one's just kind of weird. Unless I might have accidentally taken off the taper by trying to do too smooth of an action. I'll still find a use for it. I mean, it still cut the metal. It opened up the hole, so it seems to work okay. I just need to figure out how to hook a nice wrench to it. Maybe have, well, that big turning thing is pretty good, but I'm going to eventually have that on my swing press. So, I mean, can't have that for all of this. So I've done my 5th one. Let's try to salvage this one. I need to redo that one. Oh, no, it did good. Oh. that's my best one yet. Now that one has a bit of a mess up in it from the manufacturer or whoever had it before me. I have to dance around that, try to... Good enough for me. Oh my God, I forgot this one on the desk because it blended in with all the other junk in my workshop. And since this is the last one, now I have the most experience with doing this, and they're straight. So this should come out perfectly. Or I'm so used to twisting it that I'll twist it and fuck it up. Who knows? That's good enough for me. I think this one might be more for show because it just doesn't seem to... Well, I guess it is actually pretty sharp, but because this edge isn't flat, it just doesn't seem very sharp, you know? So now it's time to paint these, and I want to paint in the grooves. I think they would look really nice. And I think something like this. Maybe that could maybe work. And these wires are just welding rods, old welding rods that got wet. You just bash them with a hammer. They're gonna be a bit dusty. If you want to get that dust off, you can put them on a, so you can wire wheel them, but I don't think it'll matter too much for me. Like before, doing it many times, you get better at it. There we go. So now that's like spring loaded onto there. Should probably find a place to actually hang these once I'm done, but oh well. You guys haven't seen my helmet painting video yet because I'm still trying to do that, but I've been learning a lot about how to get a perfect finish on this stuff, and temperature plays a big part. Right now it's 20 degrees Celsius, so that'll mean that it dries a bit slower, but it also glosses together a lot better. On this though, I don't think it'll matter too much, but I'll still use my new favorite brush. I'll let that sit for a few minutes while that drips off the top, so when I open it up it doesn't make a mess. Oh, I actually cut myself for that. That means that I did a good job of sharpening it. Thankfully it didn't cut me enough to bleed. I mean, I don't need these razor sharp, but I just didn't want them scrapyard sharp. In other words, I didn't want them scrapyard dull. Yeah, I've got like a whole system going on now, judging by temperature and everything. Perfect. I have a little welding rod stir stick. What's nice about having a metal stir stick is you can just wash it off and keep using it once the paint dries. So I'll let that dry and I'll just wire wheel it later. And now I'll get these open. And let's see how this does. Alright, this is not working too well with these wires. But whatever. Look at that, that's stupid. That's fucking terrible. Is this thing straight? For fuck's sake. There we go. Nope, still not doing it. Okay, well, fuck you. What the fuck? Seriously. Seriously. And that's that. You know, hand brushing, the paint just seems to go forever. I've barely used a bit of that paint. Oh, and I've switched to having a 2-stage brush washing procedure. I found it works a lot better than having just one. And now once I get my acetone regeneration system going, I can refine this back into pure acetone, and that'll start off as that one, and then that will move over to be the dirty one. See, look at that. So much cleaner. So it's the next day, and you know, amazingly, these have actually already mostly hardened up. I guess the weather's finally warm enough to where it only takes a day for these to harden up to the touch. Probably take another week or so to cure, but I'm fine with going and cleaning them off now. But to make sure, I can test the stir stick, because it's the same metal and whatever, so we can see how that works. That's very good. So it takes such a light touch to take it off, because it's still not cured, that I can do this really quickly with very minimal wear to the metal underneath. I like that. That's almost how I envisioned it. I mean, I'm fine with being a little messy, but I might go back over that and clean it up a little bit more. From now on, I'd paint this, then I would grind it, and that would look a lot better. But, you know, I was still figuring this out. Oh, I love that. Get that thing covered in oil and that'll be perfect. Now that I'm reasonably confident that I can just take off the remainder of that paint without needing acetone, I can do it by hand. Last one. Let's see how this one goes. Oh, and it's that weird twisted one too. Still nice and sharp too. I really like that. That was a good decision, I think. I probably need a couple of weeks just to dry, just to fully cure before I really use them, but I mean, oh well. I'll probably use one or two, but if they get a little messed up, who cares? Now the real question is, can I put oil or WD-40 on them while the paint's drying? I don't know. I love the styling. So now these won't just blend into my box of tools as just another bit of metal. I'll be able to pick up like, oh, that's a reamer, and maybe from now on I can color code them based on what they're meant to drill. Like for instance, drilling metal could be blue and drilling wood could be green. Actually, that would actually work out pretty well. And then maybe other odd stuff could be like yellow or white or whatever. But then I don't have to have individual boxes for each one of these. Although, most likely I'll take a piece of like leather, make a pouch so I can roll them up, because that also works. Kind of like a lot of old auger bits used to be stored in. Just letting them bake outside for a little bit longer. And, you know, hopefully to get the paint a little more sealed up, but let's see how it does on the bottoms. I'm not too partial to the bottom paint. It was just kind of an afterthought. We'll see if it can hold up to that. Coming off a little bit, yeah. So it is taking off a little bit of the paint, acting like a solvent, but fuck it. There we go. That'll be good enough for a while. Let that dry out in the hot sun and it should be good. But I'm finding that the WD-40 works perfectly fine for keeping things from rusting in my workshop. And to be honest, I keep my workshop very dry, around 50% humidity anyway, so sometimes I don't even need it. Oh, look at that. Yes. They really did work. Look at that. Get out of here. Come on. Get. Stupid bumblebee. There's no flowers in here. Go on. Go on. Get out of here. Go on. Go. Been off 4 hours. They're still pretty oily, so maybe I put a little too much WD-40 on them, but oh well. And it doesn't seem like it's actually eroding too much of the paint. So maybe enamel paint and WD-40 can actually mix okay when it's still curing, but we'll see. I did accidentally get some of the paint taken off a little too much, but oh well. And on some of these, you can still see the strange speckled. Yeah, you can still see the bubbly, scaly surface of the casting. I'm pretty happy with that. I like how that one turned out. Pretty good for hand sharpening in my opinion. Although I haven't tried this one yet, so we'll have to make sure it's like sorted out fine. Well, that's pretty much it. Found them at the scrapyard for like $4, maybe 50 cents in paint, a little bit of like an afternoon of work, and then a bit of a morning of cleaning them off, and then they definitely work a lot better than they did before, and they're very bitey to the touch. So that's good. Before they weren't really bitey, they were just kind of bumpy. So I looked it up, and the National Tool Company and the Standard Tool Company are pretty old companies, but this is high-speed steel, so it's past the 1940s. I'm thinking this one, which I'm not even sure if it is high-speed steel, it just looks older. And judging by how much wear it has and rusting, I would guess this is the 1940s or 1950s, and then these would be 1950s or 1960s. At least that's my impression of them. And I really love how now they're color coded, because they're like my Allen keys. I love tools that have some color to them, because, or at least something different, not just the metal look, because like even like a wood handle, it gives a nice contrast. But if it's just metal, sometimes it can just fade into other tools. Like that has a little black, looks great. Maybe sometime I can renew that a little bit with some more enamel paint, but for now, it's more than good enough. This wooden handle has a nice contrast, so you can see where the handle is. It's not just a random piece of metal. But yeah, a lot of junk stuck into all the WD-40. That's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. See ya. Oh, and yes, I would classify this as an over restoration, because they are absolutely spiffy. And I just remembered I have a box that should fit them kind of okay. Like that. Good enough for me. I can see how big they are from the ends, because they're not so sharp that you can't pick them up, you know. They're just grinder sharp.